Chapter 31 He really does it when something happens. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Boom! The furious Zhenwu sect leader came in an instant, but he was greeted by the Jiang family leader, Jiang Zhinshan, who smiled and said, "Sect leader Lu, don't be so angry." The surroundings were dead silent, and everyone was stunned and shocked to see the battle, and there were waves of shock in their hearts, because everything was too fast. From the appearance of the old man to the end of the battle, everything seemed slow, but in fact it took only a few breaths, and the most amazing thing was that these few breaths were extremely wonderful. From Chu Xun's sword intent of the river, which attracted the boiling river in the back mountain of the sect, to the breakthrough of Zhao Yong of the Zhenwu sect, all were completed in an instant. All this was so fast and overwhelming, and every breath flickered with variables. It seemed that either side would win, and it seemed that either side would lose. Finally, it came to an end. Zhao Yong was defeated. He died, not even a trace was left. As for the Zhenwu sect leader Lu Nantian, he had already thought of rescuing Zhao Yong, but he gave up the idea after seeing Zhao Yong's breakthrough. He never thought that the great river sword meaning contained in the giant sword was so domineering that it broke the Zhenwu Dharma image and directly cut Zhao Yong down, leaving him no time to rescue. "Get lost!" The furious Lu Nantian roared. Zhao Yong was a top-level human emperor of the Zhenwu sect. He had a considerable fighting force after breaking through the 8th level of human emperor. How could he be willing to die here? TSK. Furious. "I can't play anymore." Jiang Zhinshan was amazed. Just now, this guy was guarding against him on his left side and prevented him from rushing to help Elder Chu. Now he was trapped in his own trap and was stopped by himself. The leader of the goddess sect, Chu Yaoyao, looked at the two with strange eyes, but rarely helped any of them. The leader of the Tianji sect and the patriarch of the Nangong clan were the same. Earlier, they wanted to see Chu Xun fall, but things changed. They had no deep hatred with Donglin sect, so there was no need to step forward at this time. Thanks to the head of the Jiang family. What a righteous man. Wang He also sighed with relief. If it weren't for Jiang Zhinshan's intervention, with the strength of Lu Nantian, the leader of Zhenwu sect, Chu Xun would be in trouble in an instant, and even fall into a place of no return. As expected of the father of the villain of destiny, Chu Xun's eyes were full of emotion. If we talk about righteousness, the villain has always been sincere, especially those who are useful to the villain, who are regarded as treasures. Thinking of the characters abandoned by the villains in the novels of the previous life, they were all useless wastes, or they were secretly rebellious and wanted to join the protagonist of destiny, so they were abandoned. Even so, the protagonist of destiny used this handle to blacken them, causing them to be disunited. In fact, it really came to the critical moment. The villain is really good, he really goes there when there is something wrong. Wonderful. Wonderful, that the geniuses from the secular dynasty or other forces in the east region below gradually looked around at this time, and all of them showed enthusiasm and excitement. Although the fight was short, it was too intense. It was not in vain, it was a win. It was a win, especially thinking of Chu Xun's amazing sword and Zhao Yong's breakthrough in the battle. He said excitedly, "I can take this scene back and brag about it for 10 years. Little Leo refused to come and thought it was nothing to watch. This time I have to slap him in the face and let him see if this battle is exciting." Me too. My friend insisted that the fight couldn't be fought, and the Donglin sect didn't dare to come out. Now I really want to drag him here, point at his nose and say, "You fucking repeat it to me." This is a fight that can't be fought. It's obvious that his face was swollen from the beating, but the Donglin sect is really strong. "Elder Chu, you hurry back to the sect." After the incident, Elder Wang he said the first time, and quickly came to Chu Xun's side to protect him. Elder Jiang, Xiao Rongyu, these two also arrived in an instant. This made Chu Xun's face reveal a helpless look. Looking at the few people, he muttered in his heart, "Are you here to protect me or to cause me trouble?" That even if they are weak fighters, Zhao Yong, who is unreliable, can sweep with one hand, and he has unknowingly become the strongest fighting force of Donglin sect. If he runs away, they will be sent to death. Besides, it's not so easy for me to leave. Buzz. A wisp of dazzling divine aura permeated from the body of Xiandao sect. and a magnificent ancient immortal god condensed behind him, and the breath of the ninth realm of the human emperor was unobstructed. Qin Yu, the leader of Xiandao sect, stepped forward, his pupils filled with sharpness, and said coldly, "It just so happens that you are all here, and it can be regarded as a witness. My Xiandao sect elders fell in Donglin sect. Should I give an explanation?" As soon as the voice fell, in the void around, suddenly, several powerful figures appeared, 5 figures, all of them were in the human emperor realm. They stood with their hands behind their backs, staring coldly at the people from the Donglin sect. Among them, the elder of the Xiandao sect angrily shouted, "Your Donglin sect disciples openly robbed the disciples of my Xiandao sect. My junior brother Zhao Huangchao came to ask for the reason but was ruthlessly killed here. If you don't give an explanation for this matter, we won't be able to deal with it today." Xiao Rongyu's phoenix eyes condensed. They had long been wary of the Xiandao sect and felt puzzled by the latter's delay in revenge. Now with the pressure from the Xiandao sect, it is not clear that they have already taken on the Donglin sect and are determined to win this battle. The leader of the Tianji sect, the leader of the Goddess Palace, the leader of the Xinqing sect, the head of the Nangong clan, these bigwigs in the eastern region showed strange colors, but there was no excessive surprise. Xiandao sect has always been protective of its children, especially when such a big thing happened. It was abnormal that they did not retaliate. Now it was unexpected but reasonable. They murmured, "It seems that the two sects have already taken advantage of Donglin sect from the beginning." First, Jinwu's sect invited a fight, then Xiandao sect killed him. It seemed calm, but there was murderous intent lurking step by step. It was better not to show it. It was amazing when it appeared. Boom! The Xiandao sect leader was filled with dazzling divine aura, and said coldly, "You hold them for a few breaths, and leave the rest to me." The face of Elder Wang, who was guarding the forbidden area, changed slightly, and there was anger on his face. Did he think he could defeat him within a few breaths? He underestimated him too much. He said coldly, "Elder Jiang, you escort Elder Chu back to the sect, and it is not a problem for me to delay for a few breaths." At the same time, the aura on Elder Wang's body was also rising. Human Emperor 6th realm, the 7th realm of the Human Emperor, the 8th realm of the Human Emperor, but compared to Zhao Yong's 8th realm, the aura of Elder Wang, who was in charge of the forbidden area, was obviously much weaker. I don't know if it was because he was too old or because he was forced to return to the peak, which made his blood and qi worse, resulting in a much weaker temperament. However, Elder Wang's pupils were filled with sharpness, his hair was full of black, and he said indifferently, "It's been a long time since I returned to the peak." Chapter 32 The Green Ivy Sword Shows Its Power. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Go quickly. Elder Wang is stalling for time. Return to the sect as soon as possible. Elder Jiang looked solemn, staring at the 5 human emperors as well as the battlefield. Although the Jinwu sect had no outsiders, he had restrained the Jiang family leader. It was obviously impossible to rely on foreign aid. Seal of Destruction. Qin Yu, the leader of the Immortal Dao sect, formed a seal with his hands, and a terrifying aura surged from his body. An ancient seal fell from the sky, suppressing it and filling it with boundless combat power. Puff! Only one encounter, Elder Wang, who was sitting in the forbidden area, vomited blood and staggered backwards. His newly rejuvenated black hair turned white again, his face was sluggish, and his aura suddenly became weak. This. Even Chu Xun was dumbfounded when he saw it. Elder Wang's aura just now really gave him the illusion that he could survive several rounds even in the 9th realm of the Human Emperor. Who would have thought that he would be able to do it in just one face-to-face meeting? It collapsed like this. The elder of the Nangong clan was not surprised and said calmly, "Elder Wang is already old and weak, and his forcible recovery can only reach the 8th realm of the Human Emperor." On the contrary, Qin Yu, the leader of the Immortal Dao sect, is already at the 9th realm of the Human Emperor, and he is still young and powerful. Now he is at his peak. Using powerful magical powers and using the Destruction Seal to kill Elder Wang, it's amazing. Elder Wang. Senior Wang. Elder. Several human emperors from the Donglin sect couldn't help but trembled when they saw this. Elder Wang was the strongest combatant in the Donglin sect, and now he was seriously injured by a face-to-face attack. How could he not be worried? "Leave me alone, go." Elder Wang weakly coughed up blood, his eyes full of shock. This immortal sect Qin Yu was far more powerful than he expected. Ah! Walk! Is it possible that the 5 human emperors of the immortal sect stood sideways and stopped in front of several people? One of them, a white-haired old man, had eyes full of anger. He stared at Chu Xun and gritted his teeth and said, "If you dare to kill my junior brother, you will fight today. This old life will also kill you here." Xiao Rongyu's pretty face turned cold, and she looked indifferently at the people in front of her. If there was one person she had no fear of, it would be 5 people. She couldn't stop it at all. She gritted her teeth and turned her back to Chu Xun, dressed in red. Said, "Elder Chu, please go back first. No one can take this step even if I am the leader." Tsk. A sword mark passed through, leaving abyss and ravines in the void. The aura on Xiao Rongyu's body was also gradually increasing, and he was obviously preparing to use the forbidden technique. This made Chu Xun, who was sitting behind a few people, look helpless. He had no intention of retreating, and said in a soft tone, "The leader should go first." "Wait a minute, let me meet them." A line of Tsing Yi stood in front of Xiao Rongyu. Looking at the back, she vaguely seemed to see the scene in the past. When she was most helpless, this line of Tsing Yi stood in front of her, blocking everything, as if the sky was falling. He was not afraid even now, at the weakest moment, he still stood up. Snort. Arrogant, that the white-haired old man's name was Zhao Qingsu, and he had cultivated to the 7th realm of the human emperor. Logically speaking, he couldn't defeat Chu Xun at this level, but he was not afraid because he had several senior brothers joining forces. "We only need to delay for a moment. Head Qin is going to deal with that old guy who doesn't know how to live or die. If we delay for a few breaths, we can easily win." Another old man also said. Right. Several people walked forward together, and the pressure in their hearts was also weakening. Thinking of Chu Xun's sword intention of the river, they felt wary, but they thought that it was unique, and with the help of the power of the river, this kind of sword intention could only be used once. In terms of combat power, Chu Xun is not as strong as he imagined, nor is he worthy of being so scary. Chu Xun. Elder Chu. Elder Chu. Chu Xun smiled slightly, turned his back to a few people and pulled out the ivy sword. A crystal-clear ivy sword, full of warm luster. Even people who don't know how to sword will exclaim that it is a good sword. What's more, everyone present is not a weakling. There was fear in Zhao Qingsu's eyes as he said, "This sword is extraordinary. It is moist all over, but filled with ivy and contains aura. I'm afraid it is a top-notch magic weapon, even the Taishan sword, which has become very popular recently. It's also incomparable." Several human emperors around them nodded silently. They had also heard that a top-quality magical weapon, the Taishan sword, had recently appeared in Tianbao City. The sword was simple and restrained, and did not reveal any aura. Even ordinary practitioners could control it. A rare human emperor magic weapon. Unfortunately, this sword originally fell into the immortal sect and was snatched away in the end. Now seeing the ivy sword in Chu Xun's hand, they felt that it was extremely clever, even compared to the Taishan sword. It was even better, and if they got it, they might not be able to make up for the loss. Greed is also at work. Chu Xun naturally saw their desires in his eyes, with a sneer on his lips. The ivy sword fell into his palm, and he swung the sword lightly. Wow! In an instant, the sword intent surged, a dazzling silver light flashed between the sky and the earth. Even Lu Nantian, who was taking action, paused slightly. Looking out of the corner of his eyes, his pupils suddenly shrank and he was shocked. The sky and the earth were completely white, and a dazzling galactic sword light rushed forward, like an incomparable condensed ocean, pouring down and sweeping up half of the sky. Hiss. Throughout the battlefield, everyone stared at the past, feeling the overwhelming sword intent. Even their souls were trembling, and they couldn't help but trembling. What kind of sword is that? Terrible. That the leader of the goddess sect, the leader of Zhenwu sect, the head of the Jiang family, Xiao Rongyu, all of these people in the human emperor realm were stunned and stood there. Seeing the unparalleled silver light pouring down, their scalps were numb. Even the head of the Jiang family was no exception. He was shocked and breathless and said, "This sword, even I can't resist it," that he was completely trembling. Thinking about how long it had been since Elder Chu broke through the human emperor realm, he was already shocked and speechless when he first met him. But just in the blink of an eye, he heard that he slapped Xiao Huangqiao to death with a slap. Now it has only been a few days, and this sword made him feel the crisis. How can a person be so strong? Boom. Xiao Qingsu, who was the first to bear the brunt, felt the unparalleled sword intent, and the white Milky Way between the sky and the earth tilted. His scalp was numb. When the crisis of life and death broke out, he shouted wildly, "Let's do it together." Needless to say, these 5 human emperors all felt the crisis of death, no one dared to hold back. Zhenwu Dharma image, that the bodies of these people were all shining brightly, and a huge Dharma image was condensed behind them. Originally, this scene was earth-shattering, but it was dimmed under the unparalleled silver light. However, they didn't care about these things, and their killing moves burst out in an instant. Destruction Seal. Vajra Seal. Heaven-killing Seal. Panlong Palm. In the blink of an eye, each person activated more than one powerful unique skill, all of which were the strongest in their lives. In a trance, they were accompanied by the killing of golden weapons and iron horses, the chanting of Buddha, and the roar of the dragon. Each skill was extremely powerful. The 5 people joined forces to shake this unparalleled sword intent, however. The sword light was devastating, whether it was the huge ancient seal, the golden Buddha palm, or the dragon Dharma image, they all fell apart and shattered under this sword. Crack. Crack. Puff. The sword flashed across, slashing away with unstoppable force. People could vaguely hear sad cries, "Senior Brother Qingsu, Senior Brother Gu Nan." Then, a ruthless white light covered everything, making it impossible to open one's eyes. Chapter 33 Qin Yu's Terror. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Gulu, the emperors of the secular dynasties, countless geniuses in the eastern region, and the up-and-coming geniuses who were watching the battle below all opened their eyes wide and stared at the sword in shock, especially those who practiced swordsmanship. They felt that they had suddenly broken through the swordsmanship that had usually stuck them. This sword contained too many swordsmanship insights, and even a trace of it was enough for them to break through. These successive swordsmanship insights made those who had never practiced swordsmanship extremely envious. Who would have thought that just watching a battle would lead to a big breakthrough? In the Donglin sect, Jiang Chen, the eldest senior brother in a white robe like snow, was naturally watching the battle. He was nervous and clenched his fists earlier, because he knew the situation of the Donglin sect. He completely relaxed after seeing this scene. His eyes were full of respect and emotion. He didn't expect that his master was so powerful, and he also looked at the sword in his master's hand. Compared with it, this Taishian sword, too inferior. Earlier, when the master said that the Taishian sword would be given to him, he was still a little nervous. He had been thinking about how to give it to the master all this time. Now he was completely relaxed. If the master had a better one, he could accept this sword calmly. Brother Qingsu. Brother Gu Nan, that the sad voice resounded in the void. Qin Yu of the Xiandao sect's heart suddenly stagnated, and the expression on his face stiffened. He had a vague ominous premonition, and his pupils stared at it. He only saw the gorgeous silver light. There were 3 people standing in the air, but all of them were pale and weak, with sword marks all over their bodies. As for the other 2, there was nothing. Boom, that this scene fell into the eyes of the sect masters of other holy places, and their pupils suddenly shrank. Chu Yaoyao of the goddess sect took a breath of cold air. The human emperor realm is the pillar of a sect. The loss of 2 people at once is probably not enough for even the Xiandao sect with a deep foundation. The palace master of Tianji Palace was shocked. He had never thought that Chu Xun's sword would be so domineering that he could kill 2 people directly without any help. Brother Qingsu, Brother Gu Nan sacrificed their lives to protect us, and they both died. A human emperor was filled with grief, watching the two brothers die in front of him without doing anything. Master, we must avenge the two brothers. This sentence was transmitted to the people below, which shocked the people watching the battle. They looked at the ordinary old man again, and they were all shocked. It was incredible, this old Taoist, he was a little too strong. 5 human emperors joined forces and he killed 2 of them with one sword, and they were the strongest too. If he slashed another sword, wouldn't he directly wipe out the 5 human emperors? Their scalps were numb, and those who were second only to the 6 major forces also swallowed their saliva. Earlier, the top forces in the eastern region had spread the legend that the Donglin sect was about to fail, and they were still coveting the status of the Donglin sect. Now it seems that a lean camel is bigger than a horse, and even a Chu Xun can easily wipe out their sect. Too strong, this strength shocked. Swoosh! Qin Yu's pupils burst into a fierce murderous intent, his long hair was messy in the wind, and a golden spear fell on his palm, and he said murderously, Chu Xun, you must die. In this short period of time, the Xiandao sect has lost 3 people in the human emperor realm, and they are all strong people above the 5th level of the human emperor realm, which completely shook the foundation of the Xiandao sect, and everything was caused by the defeat of Chu Xun, so his killing intent reached the peak. Elder Wang, who suppressed the forbidden area, wanted to stop him, but Qin Yu just roared and slapped his palm casually, and the weak Elder Wang was beaten to flying, almost dying. Swoosh! The golden spear exhaled endless coldness and stabbed straight at him. Xiao Rongyu and others felt the biting coldness and were horrified. They suddenly realized the horror and terror of the 9th realm of the human emperor, which was far beyond the reach of ordinary people. Sword intent. Chu Xun also looked solemn. This was his first time to fight against a strong man in the 9th realm of the human emperor. If he didn't have this holy weapon in his hand, he would not dare to fight at all. Now even if he held the Qingting sword, he was just trying. He didn't think of the absurd idea of beheading the opponent. Buzz! A galaxy rolled up in a mighty way. This time there were no water drops, but it seemed that there were countless water drops, all because they were composed of weak and tiny sword intent, turning into a mighty interception of the galaxy. Puff! The powerful golden spear seemed to be trapped in a swamp. It was blocked by this sword. Especially the profoundness of the sword intent was extraordinary. It blocked his attack. The patriarch of the Nangong clan had been frowning all the time, and he was slightly relieved when he saw this scene, saying, it's not that Chu Xun is too strong, it's that the sword in his hand has a problem. Sacred weapon, the leader of the Xinqing sect, the leader of the Tianji sect, the leader of the Shen palace, the leader of the Zhenwu sect, these people also recognized it, and their brows were furrowed. The sacred weapon was naturally easy to explain. It was a sacred weapon refined by a saint, but only a saint could exert the power of such a weapon. Even the 9th level of the human emperor might not be able to control the sacred weapon. Therefore, although these people came out as the helmsmen of a force, they never carried a sacred weapon with them. Seeing that Chu Xun could not only control it, but even burst out with great power, they all stared at the sword and said, this sword may be similar to the Taishan sword, but it is better. Is this the foundation of the Donglin sect? No wonder it has stood in the eastern region for 3,000 years. Even Jiang Jinshan, the leader of the Jiang clan, couldn't help but sigh. Elder Chu. Elder Wang, who was suppressing the forbidden area, was also frozen when he saw this scene. He knew how powerful Qin Yu of the Xiandao sect was after fighting with him personally. He could injure him without using magic weapons. Now he took out the magic weapons and tried his best. Who could resist him? Elder Chu could fight him with a sword. This. Elder Wang He and Elder Jiang were overwhelmed by the overwhelming ecstasy. They never thought that Chu Xun would give them such a big surprise, but after the ecstasy, there was a strong worry. Now Chu Xun's strength was just an illusion, like the mirror flower and water moon that would break at the touch of a finger. Chu Xun's strength relied on the holy weapon, and they knew the consumption of the holy weapon. It could not support it for a few times. Just like now, Qin Yu's momentum was getting stronger, he is now completely at his peak. Even if this spear was blocked, it still did not affect his state. In fact, this is just the trial period for him to adapt to and mobilize the huge energy in his body. The next is the most terrifying moment. Elder Chu, hurry back to the sect. Elder Jiang said with a change of expression, taking this opportunity to retreat while walking. As long as he could return to the sect, no matter how strong Qin Yu was, he would not dare to take a single step, otherwise he would be defeated by the formation. I can't leave. Chu Xun looked solemn, sensing the difficulty. Qin Yu's golden spear's piercing attack was already accumulating. If he took a step back at this time, he would be in danger of eternal damnation, and it was a fantasy to want to return to the sect. Chapter 34 A Long Sigh. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Can you get away? Qin Yu's pupils burst out with a fierce killing intent. 2 people from the Xiandao sect fell one after another, and Zhao Huangchao was already the 3rd emperor. This vengeance could not be let go. Kill! The golden war spear swallowed and spit out a terrible sharp edge, and the fighting spirit climbed to the peak. A slash from a distance, and there was a fierce golden spear intent. Sword intent. This was still the sword that had just been slashed. This was Chu Xun's strongest method. He didn't even dare to use the 8 desolate palms, fearing that delaying the moment would bring disaster to himself. He's finished. Chu Yaoyao, the leader of the goddess sect, was hanging there, with a pair of beautiful eyes showing complexity. She had witnessed his glory and was about to witness his end. Qin Yu, who burst out with all his strength, rarely had an opponent in the realm of the emperor. The delivery of this sword also meant that Chu Xun had no more strength left in his hands. This was his strongest method. I can't hold out for a few rounds. The leader of Tianji sect also shook his head. It was not so easy to use the holy weapon. In his opinion, it was only 3 or 5 swords at most. Qin Yu's moves were already connected. In an instant, there would be dozens or hundreds of strikes. If no one interrupted Chu Xun, he would die. Looking around the field, it seemed that the only one who had this ability and conditions was Jiang Zhinshan. The leader of Zhenwu sect, Lu Nantian, stared at the other party with a cold expression. This guy had stopped him before, but now it was the other way around. Elder Chu. Elder. Elder, the people of Donglin sect suddenly changed their colors. Looking at the back of the man in a green shirt and flying black hair, they were full of touch and panic in their hearts. They also knew that Chu Xun could not hold out for a few rounds. No, we can't let Elder Chu take risks. Xiao Rongyu gritted his teeth, his eyes full of determination. Anyone in Donglin sect could die except Elder Chu. Explode. Forbidden technique, the delicate face was filled with pain, but a strong breath revived in her body, like a giant dragon that had been sleeping for many years, or an ancient true god that was about to resurrect. Just a breath of breath shook the sky and the stars. Roar, the realm on her body suddenly exploded, the 4th realm of the human emperor, the 5th realm of the human emperor, the 6th realm of the human emperor, the 7th realm of the human emperor. This scene was incredible. Wang He and Elder Jiang obviously knew what was going on. They looked at Xiao Rongyu in a complicated way but rarely interrupted her. If they really had to make a choice, they still chose Elder Chu. Perhaps persuading Xiao Rongyu to give her some time would also allow her to grow up, but compared to her, Elder Chu's accumulation of experience was obviously faster, and they chose the latter in terms of emotion, reason, and feelings for Elder Chu. Qin Yu's pupils were filled with coldness. How could he not detect this opportunity? A cold dark light on his body instantly turned into black lightning, crossing over and hitting Xiao Rongyu directly. Stop it, Elder Wang He, Elder Jiang, the 2 of them also changed color, but as soon as they took a step, they were stopped by the 3 remaining emperors of Xiandao sect. They could only watch the dark light hit Xiao Rongyu and interrupt the forbidden recovery. Puff, blood gushed out. Xiao Rongyu's pretty face was pale, her body was weak, but more of it was despair. Qin Yu's pupils were cold, without a trace of emotion. He glanced at Xiao Rongyu mercilessly, with murderous intent on his body. If he could remove Donglin sect, he might be able to remove him today. This gave him an opportunity. Chu Xun was already a dying man, and he did not allow anyone to disturb him. Although the variables in Xiao Rongyu were strange, it was nothing as long as the recovery was interrupted. He glanced at the status of the field. Elder Wang was useless, Xiao Rongyu was seriously injured, Elder Wang he, Elder Jiang, not to be feared. From this point of view, the possibility of Donglin sect being destroyed is very high, and a cold smile can't help but appear on the corner of his mouth. From this point of view, the loss of 3 human emperor realm masters of Xiandao sect is not as bad as imagined. What a pity! Chu Xun sighed secretly when he saw this scene. The strength of the human Emperor 9 realm was beyond his expectation. He could not resist it at all. After all, he still crossed several realms. However, he was not too afraid in his heart. He had made preparations before this trip. There might be people in the human Emperor realm who could kill him, but they were definitely very few, and Qin Yu was obviously not one of them. With thoughts surging, a piece of magic paper appeared in his left palm. This was his reward for reading 1,000 volumes of scriptures. It can withstand one attack, naturally sealed his strongest attack. If he used it now, combined with the great river sword intention in his hand, it would be enough to force Qin Yu back, and he could also take the head of the sect away. It was a pity that this life-saving item was used just a few days after he got it, although it was a pity, but he did not hesitate. Things have come to this point, if we delay any longer, something unexpected will happen. No one can save you. Qin Yu approached step by step, his aura was strong, and the golden spear was emitting endless cold light. The next blow would severely injure Chu Xun, and he would kill him within 3 moves. Alas, a long and lingering sigh resounded in the sky, slowly echoing, causing the entire sky to suddenly stagnate. All the human emperors who were still fighting froze, even those watching the battle below were shocked, and their pupils contracted and froze there. In just a moment, it was as if the whole world was frozen, and the aftermath of the battle in the sky was frozen there, and time seemed to stop with a sigh. The leader of the goddess sect, the leader of the Tianji sect, the leader of the Zhenwu sect, the leader of the Xinqing sect, the head of the Nangong clan, the head of the Jiang clan, these top human emperors also froze there. Their bodies seemed to be blocked by an invisible avenue, their pupils shrank, and they stared towards the direction of Donglin sect in horror. There was only one thought in their hearts. Saint. Immediately, they were entangled in infinite fear. The existence of the realm of Saint was too terrifying, so that there were only 6 holy places in the vast East region, and they were also honored as the 6 major holy places because 6 saints were born there, but now there was a melodious and long sigh. It was obviously a light sigh, but it was clearly heard by everyone in this chaotic battlefield, and the outbreak of the battle and the aftermath were all stagnant there. This method was only possessed by saints. Saint of Donglin sect. Qin Yu was even more frightened, like a cat that was electrocuted. He tried his best to swing the golden spear, but it was not aimed at Chu Xun, but to chop the void, forcibly breaking the pressure, and retreating in horror. He appeared 100,000 miles away in a flash, becoming the person who retreated the farthest among the people. No one would laugh at him, because they would only do more if they were in that position. From Qin Yu's step-by-step pressure to the complete defeat of Donglin sect, everyone thought the situation was settled, but who would have thought that a saint would appear in the end? Damn it! Qin Yu stood in the distance with an uncertain expression, feeling both happy that he could escape here and terrified and angry. Since you have a saint in Donglin sect, why didn't you show up earlier? As for now, he let himself see hope and was on the verge of despair. Chapter 35 Changes in Various Forces. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It's not just him, the leader of Zhenwu sect, the leader of Shen sect, the leader of Tianji sect, the leader of Xinqing sect, the head of Nangong clan. The thoughts of these people are almost the same. Some are dizzy and some are confused. If the saint of Donglin sect had revealed a trace of aura earlier, who would dare to be presumptuous in front of Donglin sect? Earlier, the news that the saint of Donglin sect might have died was circulated in the East region, which became the scene of their massive oppression. If they knew that the saint was still alive, who would dare to be so presumptuous? Now it's good, it's come to this, everyone thought you had died suddenly, but, you came out. Saint, Chu Xun was also a little dizzy. He looked back at the direction of the sect. This was something he had never expected. He didn't expect that there was such a supreme strong man in the sect, but he put away the magic paper in his palm without making a sound. Since there was a saint to clean up the mess, there was no need to waste another piece of magic paper. Saint. Elder Wang, he also showed a look of smug joy. He fought like the others until this time and lost the last bit of luck in his heart. He thought that the saint had passed away, but he never thought that he was still alive. Elder Wang, who was responsible for suppressing the forbidden area, showed a complex look in his eyes. He seemed to have known about this matter for a long time, but he was not surprised by the saint's revival and a breath of breath. He sighed more, as if he was regretting. Finally, he looked in the direction of Chu Xun and was silent. Maybe it was worth it for him. Senior. Senior. The helmsmen of various forces in the past all looked down on the world and hung safely in one side like the supreme gods, but now they all bowed and saluted, facing the Donglin sect, and reported respect. Even Qin Yu of the Xianxia sect was no exception. It had nothing to do with other things. It was just respect for the realm of the saint. Maybe there was another reason. He had already fought to the door of others. At this time, if the saint revived, he would either be a good younger brother or evaporate from the world in a snap of a finger. That would be miserable, even if their sect may not be willing afterwards, that is a matter after death. They who have finally cultivated to this realm do not want to die in such an unclear way. Perhaps only Xianxia of the Jiang family is the most excited, his eyes are filled with brilliance. He never expected that Donglin sect would have a saint, but this surprise to him is no less than Chu Xun showing such a monstrous talent. Prophet. Blood prophet. Xianxia was very happy in his heart. As the biggest ally of Donglin sect, the stronger Donglin sect is, the more at ease it is as an ally. Thinking of his actions just now, he admired his vision even more. Let's go. Elder Wang, who suppressed the forbidden area, supported his weak body, and waved his sleeves to cover the injured Xiao Rongyu and Elder Wang he and others, and took them back to the sect. Elder Wang he was somewhat reluctant. He had suffered so much injustice earlier. How could he give up so easily? If there was no saint, it would be fine. Now that he had a big backer, he would naturally show off his power to regain his place. The 6 holy places were really capable. They brought the power of the eastern region to oppress him. Did they really think that his Donglin sect was a vegetarian? Elder Wang, the saint of my Donglin sect is about to come out. Wouldn't it be a joke to retreat at this time? Elder Wang he said. But with the voice transmission of Elder Wang who suppressed the forbidden area, Elder Wang he instantly calmed down, and the joyful expression on his face also dissipated. He was wrapped up and returned to Donglin sect, the leader of Xianxia sect, the leader of Xinqing sect, the head of the Jiang family, the patriarch of Nangong clan. These people also watched silently. No one dared to stop them. Even Qin Yu, who was far away in the sky, did not dare to get close. After watching the group return to the sect, the pressure of the saint also dissipated, and several people's faces were filled with confusion. They looked at each other with trepidation and confusion. Some of them were ready to pay the price, but they didn't expect that the saint of Donglin sect had never appeared at all. What does this mean? The saint is generous, he disdains to attack their juniors. Unrealistic. If it is an ordinary fight, the saint really disdains to attack these juniors, but this has been bullied to the doorstep. Is it possible not to attack? There is confusion and amazing speculation in my heart. Could it be that the saint of Donglin sect is dead, and the sigh just now is just an illusion? No. Think carefully about the pressure under the sigh, that is the real breath of the saint. There is no possibility of any falsehood. If the real saint has no intention, why didn't he choose to show up? The eyes of several leaders of various forces flashed with different colors. They had their own guesses in their hearts, either denying or hesitating, but they all jumped away. Since the saint of Donglin sect was still in today's siege, it would be a joke. Even Qin Yu of Xiandao sect was the same. Not to mention whether the saint of Donglin sect was alive, he could not break the formation of Donglin sect, so he jumped and disappeared here. At this time, there were still countless spectators below. Some of them were secular dynasty dignitaries who came here from thousands of miles away, some were practitioners in the East region, and some were geniuses in the East region, but they were amazed by the battles today. Before they came, they only witnessed the seniors of the human emperor realm fighting, but they didn't expect that the process was not only so exciting, but the subsequent evolution turned into a fight between the two sects, and finally a saint emerged, even if the saint senior did not show up. The sigh of reality and the expressions of the major sect masters confirmed that there was a saint in Donglin sect. Saint. There is a saint in Donglin sect. Originally, there were many geniuses wavering between the 6 major forces in the eastern region, not knowing which one to choose. After today's battle, they suddenly made a choice. They thought of the several human emperors who fell from the sky in the Donglin sect, and saw the ordinary old man who killed the human emperors one after another with one sword. They also thought of the saint who appeared in the Donglin sect at the end. If this was not a big backer, who else in the eastern region was a big backer? They could not understand the real situation, but they understood the strength of the Donglin sect. I want to worship the Donglin sect. I also want to worship the Donglin sect. And me, it is not clear whether there are saints in other holy places, but the Donglin sect is real. These young geniuses had blazing eyes and were filled with strong excitement. There are many emperors in the secular dynasties who are the rulers of a country. After witnessing this battle, they also exclaimed, "Today's battle has completely confirmed that the Donglin sect is the oldest force in the eastern region. The foundation is really unfathomable. In the future, you should send more talents to join your sect." There are also emperors who issued orders. In the future, if there are geniuses in the country who join the Donglin sect, they will be awarded the title of Marquis, the title of Earl, and a large sum of money. Obviously, this battle also made those secular dynasties in remote areas see the foundation of the strong, and they wanted to rely on disciples to rely on and compete with each other. In the Donglin sect, Chu Xun was also a little curious. Things have come to this point. Why didn't the saint show up to clean up the mess? Chapter 36. The saint is ill. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Elder Wang, who suppressed the forbidden area, saw Chu Xun's doubts and sighed complicatedly. The saint is ill. Huh? Chu Xun was confused. Xiao Rongyu's beautiful eyes also showed complexity. As the head of the Donglin sect, she still knew some secrets, including the deeds of the saint. She said in a low voice, "The saint's life is short." As early as more than 10 years ago, she went into seclusion and slept in order to prevent her energy from leaking out, in order to delay the time and live for 2 more years, so as to support the rise of the Donglin sect in the next generation. Earlier, the most expected candidate of the Donglin sect saint was her, but now Elder Chu is obviously more inclined to the latter. The saint is ill, Chu Xun murmured, and the doubts in his heart were also being solved one by one. No wonder the saint has been revived but has not appeared for a long time. If the saint's skills are used, it is just a matter of fingers to kill the leader of the immortal Tao sect, but it can also be done by remaining silent. The saint's frail body can be seen from it, which can no longer be concealed. Elder Jiang, Elder Wang He, the two of them were also silent for a while. They heard the explanation of Elder Wang who suppressed the forbidden area. The saint's recovery caused the energy and spirit to leak out again. He can only survive for another year. Today, he can also forcefully kill Qin Yu, the leader of the immortal Tao sect. Really Lu Nantian, the leader of the Wuzong, had to pay the price of death. This is clearly not worth it. Although the 2 sect masters are the top masters of the 9th realm of the human emperor, it would be a big loss to let a saint die with them. Anyone with a discerning eye can see the loss. Even Chu Xun felt sad and regretful when he heard this. He was just glad that a senior saint appeared in Donglin sect, but he didn't expect to fall silent again without even raising his head. However, he didn't feel too much regret. It is obviously a good thing that the saint is still alive. After delaying it for a year, by that time, I should be able to fight even if I faced the saint. Think about this. Also thoughtful, he calmly nodded to a few people and said, then I will go back to the Sutra Pavilion to read the books first. Elder Wang. He looked at Chu Xun's back in astonishment. With such a big event happening in the sect, and even news about the imminent death of the saint, do you still have time to read a book? Elder Jiang was also confused, and immediately sighed. As expected of Elder Chu, we are still far apart in terms of such a calm mind. Thinking about it carefully, although this news is exciting, there is no other way after knowing it. Instead of thinking hard about it, it is better to take the opportunity to improve one's strength to cope with future changes. The emotion in the eyes of Elder Wang, who suppressed the forbidden area, became more and more intense. He also felt that the saint was not at a disadvantage for forcibly reviving him. As long as Elder Chu can rise, he will definitely be able to take on the important role in the future. However, he also asked, Master Xiao, how are you doing? Fine. Xiao Rongyu's face was pale and lacked bloodshot eyes, but there was no fatigue in her eyes. Her forbidden technique was forcibly interrupted in the middle of using it, which made her less damaged, and asked, where are you? It's very serious. I'm afraid I have to stay in seclusion for a while. Elder Wang said silently. He was seriously injured by Qinyu, the leader of the immortal sect. He needs time to recover. Fortunately, he had made sufficient preparations for the forbidden area a few days ago, otherwise it would be another nuisance. Immortal sect, forbidden land. Qinyu, the leader of the immortal sect, also came to the saint's practice place and reported the matter respectfully. There was silence in the hall for a while, and then Kongmiao's voice came down. You did the right thing. An old man with white hair and white beard sat cross-legged on a futon in midair. He opened his eyes and saw thousands of pictures flashing in his pupils. He clarified 89 of them just from Qin Yu's report, and said calmly, is there any saint from the Donglin sect? Although the death was a bit unexpected, it also revealed the true situation. It could take as long as a year or as little as a few months. Qin Yu's pupils shrank, horror arose in my heart. The word saint is too heavy in the eastern region, so most people are in awe and keep silent about it. Now, listening to the ancestor calmly explaining that a saint is about to fall, I feel quite horrified in my heart. But you did the right thing. The old man sitting cross-legged on the futon nodded again. With the cultivation of the 9th realm of the human emperor, if you replace a saint, even the saint who is about to die will still make a profit, but why should they be immortal? It is a good thing that Zong fell into the 9th realm of the human emperor and did not completely provoke the saint to revive. Just wait quietly. Don't provoke the Donglin sect within 1 year. After the old man sitting cross-legged on the futon finished speaking, his figure disappeared here, and he didn't know where he went. Qinyu also obeyed the order carefully. Since there are saints in Donglin sect, he can no longer be as arrogant as usual, but it is good to find out the true background and situation of Donglin sect. Even if there are saints, it's not that scary once it's revealed. Zhenwu Zong, Lu Nantian, who was sternly dressed in black robes, was also reporting to the saint what happened today, and the reply he received was the same as that of the immortal Dao sect. The saint of the Donglin sect was about to perish, so there was no need to get into trouble at this time. A dying saint really wants to change his limit for one. Even if he cannot do it, he will be severely injured. This will undoubtedly give other forces an opportunity. Even the high-ranking saint does not want to touch this brow. Then Chu Xun. Lu Nantian's lips quivered, and after thinking about it, he gave up asking about his own saint. Chu Xun, who really recalled the Donglin sect, was not as strong as he thought. Kill Zhao Yong with one sword, just a trick. He borrowed a sword river in the back mountain of Donglin sect, which contained the sword intent of thousands of disciples, and he used it unexpectedly to unleash unimaginable power. In addition, the holy weapon needs to be guarded, but there is no need to be too cautious. With the strength of the 9th realm of the human emperor, it can easily suppress Chu Xun, who has the holy weapon. The next time we meet, he will definitely bring the holy weapon to suppress it. Then at that time, Chu Xun could not make any trouble. This is the thought, also understood, quietly retreated. Xianxia sect, Tianji sect, Shenu palace, Nangong clan, all these top forces in the eastern region have received the same tacit consent. The deadline for the saint of Donglin sect has come, so there is no need to offend him. As for Chu Xun, even if he has grown in a short year, what kind of storm can he stir up? Inside the Sutra Library. Buzz. Chu Xun stretched out his arm, and the green ivy sword moved with it. The green vitality turned into green vines entwined the sword body. Even he was very satisfied, and he knew that the green ivy sword played a crucial role in today's battle. My cultivation is still a little bit behind the 9 realms of the human emperor, but if I want to escape, he can't stop me. Chu Xun was also reviewing today's fight. If he met the 9 realms of the human emperor on the plains, he would directly withdraw and leave without giving the opponent a chance to block him. As long as the moves could not be connected, there would be nothing he could do. When it really came to a last resort, he still had the talisman paper in his hand to escape. Besides, after this incident, he would not go down the mountain easily. He recalled his own method silently. The 8 desolate palm had not made a breakthrough for a while. If the great river sword intention could be integrated, it would be even stronger. The breakthrough of his cultivation was the most important thing. The above 3, any breakthrough would be enough to be worry-free in the human emperor realm, but all of these would take time. Fortunately, the saint of the Donglin sect was still alive. At least this period of time must be very quiet. He leisurely picked up a scripture, and after returning to his state of mind, he slowly recited again, but he was interrupted after just flipping through a few pages. Chapter 37, Reward for 10 Years of Cultivation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Grandpa Chu. Li Yaoqi stood obediently on the 8th floor of the Sutra Pavilion, with a pair of black and clear eyes misty, filled with reluctance and joy and satisfaction. Well. Chu Xun's heart melted when he looked at the little girl. Although he had been recharging his energy these days, Xianxia had not been here for many days. Looking at that determined little face, he was afraid that he was trying to persuade her these days. My mother suffered a lot. P.S. The plot about Li Yaoqi has been revised previously. If you feel there is any discrepancy, you can read the previous part. I gotta go, Li Yaoqi said in a low voice. It was in this corner of the Sutra Pavilion that she found a sense of belonging at home. It was not the cold and numb place in the Taoist tradition, nor was she being supervised and urged to practice all the time. Only in that corner did she feel stable and belong to herself. Time, and also have to leave Grandpa Chu. Are you leaving? Chu Xun also felt a ripple in his heart. Counting the time, if Li Yaoqi hadn't stubbornly waited for him to teach the offenders a lesson, he would have returned to the Taoist tradition by now. There was a brief feeling. He took a look at the little girl's attributes. Name, Li Yaoqi. Age, 4 years old. Cultivation, body refining realm. Luck, deep purple. The lotus appears. Chi luck had obviously taken a step further and there was no need to worry about her safety, so he stood up and said, remember that Grandpa Chu said that he would give you a gift before leaving. Li Yaoqi's gloomy eyes filled with hope. Garrulous. Stretch your palms. A metal bracelet was placed quietly on his palm. Chu Xun said softly, do you like it? Like. There was a bright smile in Li Yaoqi's eyes. She liked whatever Chu Xun gave her, because this was the first time someone gave her a face-to-face gift, and it was Grandpa Chu whom she cared about. Taking off her own bracelet and putting on the gold bracelet given by Chu Xun, the little girl still raised her wrist and showed off brilliantly, saying, does it look good? It looks good. Chu Xun also nodded. Li Yaoqi was still smiling, but there was sadness in his eyes. After leaving Donglin sect, his life would be boring, and he would be monitored all the time. The most important thing was that Grandpa Chu, who was like Uncle Fu, would also be far away from him. Let's go back. I'll see you later. Chu Xun touched her little head and said softly. Really? It seemed that the second half of the sentence touched the little girl, making her dim eyes glow with life, and she was full of hope when she raised her head. Really? Chu Xun nodded heavily. Good. Goodbye, Grandpa Chu. Li Yaoqi waved reluctantly. Chu Xun, who was standing upstairs, did not go down to see him off. He watched Li Yaoqi follow a woman wearing a phoenix robe and drifted away. He felt a little reluctant in his heart, but soon regained his peace. The road to spiritual practice is long, everyone is a passerby. Yaoqi, who gave this to you? The woman holding Li Yaoqi naturally saw a gold bracelet on her wrist, and her beautiful eyes flashed with a strange color because she knew what it was. Some time ago, 2 divine objects were auctioned in Tianbao City. The first was the opening item, the Tai Xian sword. As far as she knew, this sword was in the Donglin sect, and the second was this gold bracelet. Quasi-sacred weapon, but it is a bit useless. It can withstand the saint's blow. It is a treasure of body protection. However, the price is too expensive and ordinary people cannot afford it. And those who can afford it do not need this gold bracelet to protect themselves, so they live in exile. Appearing at the auction house while away, but it is still undeniable that it is a treasure, a quasi-sacred weapon. Although it cannot actively attack and loses a lot of price, if it is placed on a child for protection, it is a supreme treasure. Grandpa Chu thought there was a trace of trance and astonishment in the eyes of the woman who was holding Li Yaoqi. This quasi-sacred artifact was said to have been auctioned for a sky-high price and was a treasure trove. Unexpectedly, it also fell into the hands of Donglin sect and was given to her daughter. Brief trance. I also have a little more respect for that old man. Ding! Congratulations to the host for investing in the Destiny villain. Reward, 10 years of cultivation. Reward, 10 years of Kendo insights. Reward, life drops. 3 things in a row were related to cultivation, which surprised Chu Xun. Even though he didn't have much pressure in his heart now, the Immortal Tao sect and Jinwu sect were pressing down like a mountain. It would be a surprise if he could break through quickly. Of joy. Absorb. Boom! 10 years of cultivation directly entered the body, and the realm that had previously paused in the 5th realm of the human emperor suddenly broke out, the peak of the 5 realms of the human emperor, the 6 realms of the human emperor, the 7 realms of the human emperor, the 8 realms of the human emperor. It was not until the middle stage of the 8th realm of the human emperor that he could stop, and all of this only took less than a quarter of an hour. If this was spread, I don't know how much of an uproar it would cause. Pity, thought there was a little sigh in Chu Xun's eyes. If he had invested in Li Yaoqi earlier, he would not have had to revive his saint. With his current cultivation level, he could defeat all enemies with one sword. Even Jinwu sect Lu Nantian and Immortal Tao sect Qin you could not withstand him. Sword, but it doesn't matter, it's a blessing in disguise. Although the saint is revived once, he can continue to live in seclusion behind the scenes. When he waits for the next attack, there will probably be very few people in the eastern region who can rival him. Then he looked at the second reward, 10 years of Kendo insights. Absorb or not? Yes. In an instant, a surge of insights about swordsmanship rushed towards me. All the insights about swordsmanship were so patchy and complicated that even Chu Xun, who had read all the books and had a deep foundation, almost lost his mind under this surge of insights. Keep your mind strong, realize it carefully. Chu Xun suddenly realized it, and he closed his eyes tightly, comprehending the profound swordsmanship in the Sutra Library. The confusion he had in understanding the swordsmanship of the Great River was now being solved. As time passed, his swordsmanship skills were advancing by leaps and bounds, as if he was always in enlightenment, and his cultivation speed was extremely fast, bursting out at an incredible speed. In just 7 days, he carried 10 years of swordsmanship insights, even if he closed his eyes. The moonlight from the window sprinkled hazy moonlight, reflecting on the old man, as if reflecting a clear and bright divine sword, with sharp edges all over his body. Then he waved. Buzz! A crescent moon burst out from the cups and rushed into the sky, flashing a blazing and bright sword intent. For a moment, countless sword cultivators in the sect felt it in their hearts. They looked up with surprise, and some were intoxicated and murmured, "This sword intent is too domineering. If you can understand it, your cultivation can reach a higher level." Xiao Rongyu, who was practicing in the head of the sect, also opened his tired eyes, but looking at this surging sword intent, his fatigue was also dispelled, and he said with joy, Elder Chu has made another breakthrough and realized a new sword move. Wang He and Elder Jiang, who were playing chess, were also stunned, and then they felt the strong sword intent and said in surprise, this sword has the power of the ninth realm of the human emperor. It seems that Elder Chu benefited a lot from the last fight. There is a breakthrough so soon. Elder Wang, who suppressed the forbidden area, was also filled with joy, thinking that this was some new sword skill that Chu Xun had realized. However, Chu Xun in the Sutra Library slowly opened his eyes. The crescent sword intent was just a casual wave. Not to mention using the green ivy sword, he didn't even use his own cultivation. He simply turned his recent insights into a sword intent and slashed it out. His peripheral vision also looked at the crescent moon rushing towards the sky, turning into a huge sword light, as if to cut the moon. He smiled and said, without using the great river sword intention, his cultivation can be comparable to the ninth level of the human emperor. If he combines the great river sword intention and the green ivy sword, he will be hard to find an opponent in the human emperor realm. Chapter 38, Apprenticeship Ceremony. You are listening at novelfull.audio. System. Attributes. After the sword energy gradually dissipated outside the sky, Chu Xun also rarely checked his attribute panel. Name, Chu Xun. Zongmen, Donglin Holy Land. Cultivation, peak of the 8th realm of the human emperor. Supernatural power, defensive secret golden light shield, skill technique, 8 desolations palm, day sword intent. Reading, 1,200 volumes. That when he saw the last thing, Chu Xun pursed his lips. After being rewarded for reading 1,000 volumes, the new task given to him was to read 3,000 volumes. At the moment, it seemed that the road was long and long, but it didn't matter. The breakthrough in cultivation was in time. It is more sufficient, continue to read scriptures, write, drink tea, cultivate your sentiments, and cultivate your character. Time passed quietly like this, March time, fleeting, this day, inside the Sutra Pavilion, Chu Xun read scriptures as always. The books he read every day were different, but they were able to corroborate each other and comprehend each other. He also enjoyed the process of reading. Now sitting cross-legged on the 8th floor of the Sutra Pavilion, he can feel the festive atmosphere outside. Look at it a few more times, and then you will see something strange. East to the Holy Land. Admissions Day. The annual apprenticeship ceremony. It's just that this year's apprenticeship ceremony was much more lively than in previous years. A few months ago, a battle in Donglin sect attracted the attention of the entire eastern region. Especially with word of mouth spreading, many people secretly regretted not rushing over to witness that event. A shocking battle. There were people who witnessed Chu Xun's appearance, and there were also people who were immersed in the scene where several human emperors from the Donglin sect came together, and the last breath of the saint confirmed the rumors that there was a saint in the Donglin sect. Therefore, this apprenticeship ceremony was particularly popular. Worldly genius, the genius of the eastern region, even people who had made a name for themselves came. Well, you can go and have a look. Putting down the scriptures in his hands, Chu Xun dressed in Xing and walked down from the scripture collection pavilion. This shocked everyone who was still reading inside. Even the elders sitting on other floors were stunned. They looked at Chu Xun's back in amazement and muttered. Said, who was Elder Chu just now? Seems to be. Are you going to join in the fun too? Should. This made them surprised. They did not expect Elder Chu, who had a calm temperament, to attend this recruitment meeting. They also envied, this new generation of disciples is really lucky. They actually met Elder Chu while hanging out. This is a rare occurrence in a lifetime. If this opportunity falls into Elder Chu's eyes, it will skyrocket. Along the way, walked all the way, much consternation was left behind. Immediately, the news swept through the Donglin sect like a whirlwind. Elder Chu from the Sutra Pavilion had left seclusion and went straight to the enrollment ceremony. Not to mention everyone else, even those who had been members of the sect for 3 to 5 years, rushed away. The place of apprenticeship ceremony, the person in charge of this matter was Elder Sun, who was also the person who had been entrusted by Chu Xun to auction the tools. When he saw Chu Xun, his face was full of surprise, and he said in disbelief, "Elder Chu, why are you here?" Although Donglin sect's annual apprenticeship ceremony is grand, it only shows the appearance of the venerable realm. Elders such as Elder Wang He and Elder Jiang only come on the last day of the apprenticeship ceremony. It's only the third day now, there are still a few days until the end. Elder Chu actually became the first person to arrive at the human emperor realm. Chu Xun nodded gently, with a smile in the corner of his eye. He looked at the endless stream of figures below. One of the most talented people was showing off their talents and passing through the levels to attract the attention of the big shots above. Look, there were also some people who had been eliminated and gathered together with the elders who had come with them, looking sad. Some young women even sobbed softly, regretting that they could not enter the Donglin sect. Too much, Chu Xun sighed softly. In this lively crowd, even the geniuses who broke into the level were in the thousands, and this number was still increasing. Let's see if there are any good seeds first. Name, Luo Fan. Age, 23, cultivation, the first level of Dharma. Luck, white. Life evaluation. After a few days, I joined the Donglin sect and became an ordinary disciple of the Donglin sect. After reaching the age of 35, I realized that I had no intention of breaking through to the princely realm, so I returned to my hometown to educate the younger generations. Look away. Name, Chao Yong. Age, 22, cultivation, Dharma realm 4th heaven. Luck, gray. Life evaluation. After a few days, he joined the Donglin sect and became a disciple of the Donglin sect. At the age of 30, he broke through to the realm of princes. At the age of 40, he was hopeless in the realm of venerables. He returned to his hometown and opened an academy, Qingzhou Academy. There will be a future. An incredible person walked out of it. Keep sweeping away. Name, Fang Jia. Age, 24, cultivation, 4th level of Dharma. Luck, black. Destiny supporting role. Life evaluation. He showed great talent when he entered the sect, became a disciple of an elder, and rose to prominence in just a few years. There was a younger generation who seemed to be the leader, but he provoked the fateful protagonist and died at the age of 29. Shaking his head slightly, it seemed that most people's fates were fixed there, and very few had the luck to be black. Fang Jia had a little bit of potential, but it was still far from what he imagined. Hard to find. Chu Xun sighed. He originally wanted to see if there was an opportunity to invest in the destiny villains. Unfortunately, these people's luck was too weak. But thinking about it, even though there are destiny villains, how could they all gather in a small sect? I thought I was going to be in vain this time. Elder Sun also pointed to the group of eliminated disciples and said, there may be good seedlings among those disciples. Elder Chu might as well go and take a look, that this is not a lie. The rules set by the sect are rigid after all. It is common for some good seedlings to be eliminated before they show their talents. It is even more common for some to be excluded by others and eliminated. Therefore, it cannot be generalized. However, it is undeniable that such seedlings are too small. Only one will appear in many years. Most of those who are eliminated are not talented enough and have no chance to worship in the Donglin Holy Land. Chu Xun nodded gently, without any hope in his heart. His eyes were shining with the eyes of heaven. He looked around and saw the fates of each person clearly. The fate of one person made Chu Xun freeze there. Among the eliminated people, a cold young man in black robes was hard to say, looking at the people around him who were also eliminated, but they were accompanied by elders. It's just a failure, it's nothing, and your performance today is already very good. Wait until next year to try again, you will definitely pass the 7 levels and join the Donglin sect. You can break through 4 levels for the first time, and you will definitely join the Donglin sect next year. You are worthy of being my precious daughter, you are so talented. Little girl, although you failed, your brother is valued by the elders of the Donglin Holy Land and accepted as a disciple in advance. You should be happy for your brother. Yeah, not looking at the harmonious scenes around him, the cold young man in the black robe was full of disappointment. Others were either accompanied by companions in groups of 3 or 5, or accompanied by elders at home, but he was alone, and no one cared even if he was excluded and failed. Is my talent really not good? That the young man in the black robe was filled with despair. Once upon a time, he was also the pride of his family. He was born in the Lu family of Tianyun country. He showed his outstanding talent since he was a child. He was highly expected by his family, and the elders of the clan regarded him as the hope of the future. As he got older, he went to the imperial capital and enrolled in the top school, Tianyun School. In just 3 years, he conquered his peers with his unparalleled talent. Even the emperor of Tianyun Kingdom valued him highly and regarded him as the first genius of Tianyun Kingdom. Then he began his travels. When he first left Tianyun Kingdom, he was still full of vigor and had promised to be the best in the world, but as he traveled more, his ambition was suppressed more and more. Until he entered the huge stage of the East region, he realized how weak and powerless he was, the hope of the family, the respect of the emperor, the idol of countless secular mortals. He came to the East region but encountered many setbacks. Not to mention enrolling in the Donglin sect, he was eliminated even when he went to the 4 major holy places, and even when he went to a slightly inferior sect, he was also eliminated. This made him disappointed and lonely. The once proud genius also smoothed his edges and corners, accompanied by bitterness and pain. I guess my classmates at Tianyun Academy at this time still think they are doing well in the Eastern region, and even joined a large sect in the Eastern region. I'm afraid they never thought that they don't even have the qualifications to enter the threshold. Even if they are rejected, they can only hide in a corner in embarrassment and lick their wounds alone. Chapter 39 Bow Down. You are listening at novelfull.audio. System. View properties. There was a strange look in Chu Xun's eyes. Name, Lu Jian. Age, 23, cultivation, Dharma appearance realm 2nd realm. Luck, purple, villain of destiny. Physique, natural sword body. This made Chu Xun show a hint of surprise. You should know that no one else had this mark. Even Li Yaoqi's devouring physique was not revealed. Instead, Lu Jian's special physique was revealed, somewhat surprised, but still looking at it. Life evaluation. He has been a genius in the family since he was a child. He has a smooth journey. He enters the imperial capital and pays homage to Tianyun Academy, where he is highly regarded by the emperor. However, when he travels, he encounters frequent blows and is rejected from the sect many times. In this case, after passing the Donglin sect exam, he chose to return to Tianyun Kingdom, and the turning point in his life began. Tianyun Kingdom was robbed and was being sacrificed by 3 demons. Lu Jian witnessed this scene with his own eyes and his eyes were broken. However, his cultivation was too weak. During the struggle, the demon noticed his special physique and brought him back to the demon sect for training. I originally wanted to lurk in the demon sect to accumulate strength, but as fate would have it, I was framed step by step by my fellow sects, and unknowingly became the big demon in the mouths of various forces. We worked together to suppress him, and gradually a generation of demon emperors was born. Life evaluation, tragic. After roughly reading Lu Jian's life evaluation, Chu Xun could only sigh in his heart. He was really a poor man. He was full of energy when he was young, but his edges were smoothed by life. This is nothing. Witnessing the demon cult's blood sacrifice to the most holy place in the soul, and the tragic death of hundreds of millions of people, the grief in my heart turned into strength and lurked in the demon cult, but unexpectedly, I was frequently blamed, and it was even rumored that he was the one who destroyed the Tianyun Kingdom that day. He was so cruel and inhumane. Even the whole family is willing to trap and kill, and has taken countless scapegoats. This destiny villain is really a bit miserable, and he is fully worthy of the system's evaluation. Brother Lu. A flash of light and shadow, an elegant man came to Lu Jian and said with a smile, Brother Lu, I was valued by an elder of the Donglin sect. I don't need to continue the assessment, and I joined the Donglin sect in advance. How about you? Lu Jian's throat was about to squirm, but he felt it was more difficult than ever before. There was only bitterness in his eyes, and he cupped his hands and said, "Congratulations, Brother Wang, I have been eliminated." Eliminated. The elegant man pretended to be surprised. He looked up and down and said in surprise, "It shouldn't be. With your talent, you were eliminated." Lu Jian suppressed the anger in his heart, but he couldn't tell that this elegant man was deliberately taunting him. The crowd he was in was an elimination area, so he didn't deliberately come to talk to him for the purpose of ridicule, but the power is stronger than others. He is no longer the high-spirited young man who just came out of Tianyun Kingdom. He pursed his lips and remained unmoved, and said lonely in his heart, "It seems that I am also one of these living beings. I don't know how I dared to be young and frivolous back then. Promise that kind of ambition. Feeling disappointed, I am no longer prepared to hang out in the eastern region anymore, prepared to return to Tianyun Kingdom, accept your own mediocrity." The elegant man in front of him had disdain in his eyes. He looked up and down, and Lu Jian immediately left. He thought he was someone deliberately making friends with him, but he didn't expect that he didn't even join the Donglin sect. He was such a loser, and he was pretending to be cold. It's so ridiculous to be so arrogant. Lu Jian turned around in disappointment, just getting ready to leave. I don't know when a figure arrived, standing not far from Lu Jian, looking at him with a smile, and asked, "Lu Jian, are you willing to become my disciple and join the Donglin sect?" Boom. Lu Jian didn't hear clearly what was said before, and only heard the number at the end, "Enter the Donglin sect." His pupils suddenly shrank, and he stared at Chu Xun, breathing rapidly, and said, "Can I enter the Donglin Holy Land?" "Yes." Chu Xun nodded. Boom. Lu Jian knelt on his knees and kowtowed heavily in the crowd, making everyone around him look like they had seen a madman, and they all retreated and stayed far away from this guy. Disciple wishes. Disciple wishes. Lu Jian's forehead hit the ground heavily, and his voice was choked with sobs. During these years in the Eastern Territory, he was used to the warmth and coldness of human relationships, and he also realized the importance of a strong sect. At this moment, he didn't want to know who this old man was, as long as he was willing to worship him in the Eastern Territory. Lin Zong, let alone kowtow in public, can do even the most difficult things. Chu Xun's eyes were full of kindness. He had naturally seen the scene just now, and he also understood the character of this disciple. He was completely different from the eldest disciple Xianxia. If Xianxia suffered this injustice, I'm afraid I wouldn't care about you. Even the King of Heaven would dare to strike with a sword, but this young apprentice has obviously been smoothed by life. Good. Let me go. Chu Xun gently flicked his sleeves, and a ball of gleaming light enveloped Lu Jian, lifting him up. The crowd around him also stared at the ball of gleaming light, their eyes gradually widened, and they said in shock, "The human emperor." It's the human emperor. That the aura of the human emperor permeating the gleaming light group made people in the elimination area look over one after another, and even people in the area where disciples were recruited looked at him in shock. Human emperor. It's senior human emperor. Along with the sounds of astonishment, the elimination area was full of envious and longing eyes, and most of them were jealous. This guy was so lucky. Even though he was eliminated, there was still a senior human emperor who fell in love with him and was willing to accept him as his disciple. This is a big deal. Opportunity. In the area where disciples have been recruited, an elegant young man also looked along with the crowd. When he saw the figure under the bright light, his eyes were wide open, his face was full of astonishment and shock, and his whole person was completely stay away, Willow. Lu Jian. It turned out to be Lu Jian, whom he looked down upon and disdained to ridicule. After a long time, the elegant young man finally regained his composure and gradually regained his composure when he thought that although the teacher he worshipped was not the human emperor, he was extremely powerful in the Donglin sect and might not be equal to Lu Jian. Congratulations to Elder Chu for accepting a disciple. Congratulations to Elder Chu for accepting a disciple. Congratulations to Elder Chu for accepting a disciple. But suddenly, those indifferent and rock-like figures who had previously looked at the apprenticeship ceremony with indifference stood up enthusiastically, came to the void and bowed their hands in thanks. with smiles in the corners of their eyes, and looked at the disciple with kindness, and they all sent a meeting gift to celebrate. When this scene fell into the eyes of the contestants who were taking the assessment, they were all shocked. They thought it was just an ordinary human emperor, but now it seems that this human emperor has a lot of origins. Elder Chu, as people murmured in their sleep, they frowned and thought they sounded familiar. Suddenly, someone was surprised and trembled wildly. Could it be that it's some elder from the Sutra Pavilion? For a moment, there was a dead silence, and every pair of eyes looked at them with burning desire and envy. As early as a few months ago in the battle, if the person with the most glory was naturally Elder Chu, he actually appeared now, and recruiting disciples has no intention of bringing the atmosphere to an extreme. It's really Elder Chu. I've met him once before. I watched the battle from a distance a few months ago. There's no doubt it's him. Excited affirmations also resounded. The elegant young man's knees weakened and he collapsed. If it weren't for the support of the people around him, he would have fallen to the ground. Some people asked, "Brother Wang, what's wrong with you?" The elegant young man had a stern look on his face, forced a smile, and said, "Nothing." If he were an ordinary human emperor, he could still cheer himself up, but if he was really an Elder Chu who was arrogant because of his qualifications, when he raised his head again, he found that he was suspended in the air. Lu Jian, who was flying towards Donglin sect in the air, was looking at him expressionlessly. This made him want to faint to death. Chapter 40 Guidance. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Inside the Sutra Library, Lu Jian stood there, his expression slightly moved. When he was on the verge of despair, Chu Xun extended a helping hand to pull him up, which made him grateful. The three kowtows were sincere. Who would have thought that this old man had such a great background? Elder Chu of Donglin sect, the most popular senior in the eastern region recently, has now become his master. This makes him happy but also mixed with worries. How can a person who has been eliminated by other forces be qualified to worship this senior as a teacher? Chu Xun naturally saw the guy's worries, and did not hide it. He smiled and said, "You have a good physique and a sword body, but it has not been activated yet. Go to the Sword River in the back mountain, maybe you will gain something. When you officially activate the sword body, you will be my real disciple." Sword body. Lu Jian's eyes were filled with joy. He had a special sense of sword cultivation since he was a child, but as he entered the eastern region and met too many geniuses, he did not think that he had any uniqueness in swordsmanship, but Elder Chu must have a reason for saying this. Respectfully saluted. Retreat silently, go all the way, straight to the Sword River in the back mountain of the sect. This river is too famous. It was regarded as a holy place by the sword practitioners of Donglin sect. With Chu Xun defending the enemy in front of Donglin sect, the surging Sword River rolled out from the back mountain and directly destroyed Xianxia of Xianwu sect, pushing this river to the extreme. At present, there are countless disciples practicing here, sitting on the ground, feeling the sword intent in the river like a pilgrim. Such a strong sword intent. Lu Jian looked at the river in front of him and was shocked. This was something he had never felt anywhere. Looking at the looming sword energy in the river, there was no lack of venerable realm, and even saw a human emperor sword intention, which shocked him. You know, it is not easy to encounter such an opportunity in the outside world, but in Donglin sect, this seems to be just one of the insignificant ones. Who? Exhaled turbid air. The joy in his eyes was restrained, and his face showed determination. Since Elder Chu said that he had a sword body, he would activate it here, otherwise it would be an insult to the reputation of the predecessor. How could a top figure in the East region accept an unknown person as his disciple? Buzz. As he closed his eyes and comprehended, rich sword intent surged, it sank into his body, chi. He was only a hair's breadth away from having a sword body. Feeling the supreme sword intent in this river, more and more sword energy continued to gather, washing his body, making the sword intent in his heart clearer and clearer. In just 7 days, he felt the difference in his body. It was like a pure sword. He wanted to master it, but he was always a little short of it. This made him anxious and puzzled. Chu Xun, who was far away in the Sutra Library, also showed a strange look when he looked over, and then he was relieved. Thinking of the little guy's life journey, if there was no accident, he would return to Tianyun country at this time and be stimulated, and just happen to awaken the sword body. It was clear that he had accumulated for many years and was only one step away. He smiled and said, "Then I will help you." Buzz, he flicked his finger, a sword intent surged, it turned into a stream of light and sank into Lu Jian's body. Boom! Lu Jian, who had been just a little bit away, felt like he was struck by lightning and kept shaking, but it was accompanied by a sharper and more powerful sword intent. The cultivation level exploded in an instant, the peak of the second realm of Dharma, the third realm of Dharma, the fourth realm of Dharma, the fifth realm of Dharma. In a short moment, the cultivation level was accumulated and then burst out. He broke through the realms one after another and entered the third heaven. Such a strange sight also alarmed the nearby practitioners. They opened their eyes and happened to see this scene. They all showed surprise and said in shock, "Sword body," that the man's body was transparent like a complete sword light. What made them even more envious was that his cultivation level skyrocketed in an instant, breaking through the 3 realms in succession, saving several years of hard practice, which made these people envious. As the sword force in Lu Jian's body was restrained, these people swarmed up, each with a bright smile, saying, "May I ask who you are, senior brother?" "I am Ding Hongxing. Why haven't I seen you a few days ago?" "Hello, senior brother, I am Ho Junjie, I entered the academy last year." "Senior brother, are you free these days? I am confused about my cultivation level and would like to ask you to explain it to me." In just a moment, one figure after another came, and they all realized that this young man was going to rise up while envying him. That was a sword body, and there had not been one in the entire eastern region for tens of thousands of years. Since the founding of Donglin sect, there has never been a genius with a sword body. This cold-looking young man in black has mastered the sword body. As long as he does not die, he will surely become a human emperor in the future, and there is even a glimmer of hope for the Saint Realm. Such a great man. It is naturally worth their friendship and flattery. Lu Jian was touched, thinking that he was still a poor boy a few days ago, and even the elegant man could humiliate him at will, but it has only been a few days. These disciples of Donglin sect have been in the sect for many years. In the past, he needed to be cautious and respectful, but now they all came to flatter him. He was touched, and knew that this was not all his credit. If it were not for Elder Chu to help him, he might have sunk into depravity and would never be able to master the sword body in his hometown. If it were not for the help of the last sword light, he would probably still be obsessed, and he didn't know how many days it would take to solve the doubts. He also knew that the sword light came from the teacher, and his gratitude was even stronger. Looking at the fawning senior brothers and sisters in front of him, Lu Jian also said silently in his heart, "Awaken the sword body. Once you shed your mortal body, you will also be qualified to be Elder Chu's disciple." After a while, inside the Sutra Library, Lu Jian stood there obediently. Chu Xun also pursed his lips and said with a smile, "Not bad, 0.7 days, mastering the sword body." It was still expected. What really made him happy was that the system gave Chu Xun a gift of apprenticeship and rewarded Chaos Sword Body as Lu Jian mastered the sword body. Now he felt a strong sword intent washing in his body all the time. "Go down and comprehend the sword body first. I'll take you out of the sect in 3 days, Chu Xun said calmly. Lu Jian nodded obediently and didn't ask any more questions. 3 days later, gone in a flash. Swoosh! A stream of light carried Lu Jian out of the sect. Originally, Chu Xun was not going to leave the sect and was going to stay there, but this little disciple gave him such a great opportunity and obtained the Chaos Sword Body. It would be unreasonable not to give him some rewards. Besides, Lu Jian has not turned evil yet. If he is allowed to practice in the sect for a while, and then hears that the demon sect has been completely destroyed when he returns home, it is unknown whether it will affect his state of mind. The most important thing is that according to the evaluation of life, the Tianyun kingdom is about to be robbed, and billions of lives in the country will be sacrificed. It would be fine if he didn't know about such a cruel thing, but since he knew it was related to him, there was no reason to hide it any longer.